أعزائي طلاب وطالبات الصف الخامس الابتدائي، أهلا بكم في حلقة جديدة من مادة العلوم باللغة الإنجليزية. Welcome dear student. In this episode we will continue lesson number 1, mixture. So let's get started. So in the previous episode we studied types of matter, and we said matter, pure or mixture, and we studied mixture, and we said mixture are many types: solid liquid mixture, gaseous mixture, solid liquid mixture, and gaseous liquid mixture. And also we studied the properties of mixture, and we said mixture, three properties of mixture. First property, mixture can be separated easily. Component of mixture can be separated easily, and each component keep its own property, and we can add any component with any ratio. After that we studied formation of mixture. ازاي نقدر نعمل mixture, and we had three methods to make mixture, like stirring, shaking, and grinding. After that, can we separate components of mixture again? If we mix sand and water, if we mix salt and water, can we separate them again, or we cannot? So this will be separation of mixture, and we will study separation of mixture now. نقدر نفصل الميكسشر المخلوط بعد ما احنا عملناه. يعني لو عملنا مخلوط من ملح وميه، او رمل وميه، او رمل ومعاه ايرن فايلينجز او برادة حديد، نقدر نفصله تاني ولا لا؟ علشان المواد دي مختلفة هنفصلهم. نقدر نفصلهم، ده الجواب. طب نفصلهم ازاي؟ هنقدر نفصلهم بأكتر من طريقة بتعتمد على نوع المخلوط. So we will start with separation of mixture. First method, magnetic attraction. Who know what is magnetic or magnetic force? Yes, we studied that before. Magnetism or magnetic attraction, it is force of magnet attract magnetic materials. And we know what is magnetic materials. Like what? Like iron, nickel, cobalt, and steel. All of them are magnetic material, and they get attracted to magnet. بينجذبوا للمagnet. And there are something called non-magnetic materials. Materials do not attract it to magnet, like sand and plastic, like copper, aluminium. All those are non-magnetic material. So we will use magnetic attraction. It is used to separate solids mixture that contain magnetic substance. Magnetic substance like iron filings. So example, mixture of sand and iron filings. So if we have sand and iron filings, we can make mixture by shaking both of them. And after making mixture also we can separate them. نقدر نفصلهم تاني. هنفصلهم ازاي؟ We will use magnetic attraction, or we will use magnet, and the magnet will attract sand or iron. Who know? Attract the magnetic material, which is iron, and do not attract sand. So we will use magnet to separate iron from sand. So method number 2 to separate mixture, filtration process. Filtration process is used to separate solid mixture that insoluble in water. Insoluble means do not dissolve in water. مش بيدوب في المية. Like sand. Any material could be soluble or insoluble. أي مادة في الدنيا كلها ممكن تدوب في المية أو ما تدوبش. مادة ممكن تدوب تبقى soluble in water, or can be dissolved in water, or insoluble مش بتدوب, is insoluble or cannot be dissolved in water. So filtration used to separate solids mixture that insoluble in water. Insoluble in water. Example like what? Like sand and water. Sand do not dissolve in water, so it is insoluble in water, and it is solid liquid mixture, if you remember. So number 3, evaporation process. It is used to separate solid mixture that soluble in water. Soluble in water means can be dissolved in water, like salt and water. Salt dissolve in water, يذوب في الماء، علشان كده اسمها soluble in water, and we use evaporation process. So example, mixture of salt and water. So we will use flame and we will heat water, and we know that previously that water boils and change from liquid state to gaseous state, and this process called evaporation. And when we evaporate this water and collect the water vapor by condensation process, by cooling, the water will be distilled water or pure water, while salt will remains without any change, and it will be also pure substance. So we will separate salt from water using evaporation process. Number 4, separating funnel. And separating funnel used to separate immiscible liquid mixture which do not mix together. Liquid do not mix together like what? Like oil in water. Oil do not mix with water. So examples, mixture of oil and water. So when we mix oil and water and we make liquid mixture by shaking. When we shake, they seems like they are mixed, but when we stop, they not mixed together, so they will separate and oil will float on the surface of water. So we will use separating funnel. So let's do an activity to separate iron filings from sand. So to separate solid mixture like iron filing contain magnetic material, iron, and sand. So we will separate them using what? نقدر نفصلهم باستخدام ايه؟ احنا عندنا معلومة ان الايرن attracted to magnet، بينجذب للماجنت، فنقدر نستخدم magnetic attraction. طيب زي ما واضح قدامنا دلوقتي في الصورة، we use magnetic attraction to separate iron from sand. Tools needed for this experiment, we will need iron filings, very small particles of iron called iron filings أو برادة حديد, some sand and magnet or a strong magnet. So we will need magnet, iron filings and sand. So the step, we will do what? We will approach a magnet to mixture of sand and iron filings. نقرب المagnet لمixture of sand and iron filings. What will happen? As you see here, the magnet will attract iron filings. Observation, the magnet attracts iron filings only. Why iron filings only? Because iron is a magnetic material, while sand is non-magnetic material. So the magnet will attract what? Of course, attract iron. Inference, we can conclude that the magnet is used to separate solid mixture that contain magnetic substance as iron, and if contain nickel, it will be also separated by magnet, and steel also separated by magnet. Here is a question. Give reason. A magnet can be used to separate iron filings from sand. Who can answer this question? Magnet used to separate iron filings from sand. ليه بنستخدم المagnet? Okay, because the magnet attracts the iron filings only, not sand, and separate them from sand. So iron will attract it to magnet, while sand not attracted to magnet. so we can separate them. The next activity, separate solid liquid mixture by filtration. How we can separate solid like sand from liquid like water. Who know sand soluble in water or insoluble in water؟ الساند بيدوب في المية ولا مش بيدوب؟ الساند مادة مستحيل تدوب في المية، فعلشان كده ممكن نستخدم filtration process. So we will use filtration as you see here to separate sand from the water. Tools needed, we will need sand, water, a funnel, filter paper, 2 beakers, and a stand. Okay. And we will do what? Pour mixture into the funnel. ندلق المية اللي فيها ساند دي في الفانل، بس لازم يكون في الفانل وعندنا filter paper. Pour the mixture into funnel that has a filter paper as shown in this figure. So what will happen next? Observation. We will observe that the filter paper separates sand and lets water passes through. Lets the water passes through the paper. Inference. We can conclude that filtration process is used to separate solid materials that are soluble, insoluble in water, such as sand. Insoluble do not dissolve in water like sand. Here is a question. Filtration process is used to separate sand from water. Why filtration process? Because sand insoluble in water, sand do not dissolve in water. That's why we use filter paper. In the next activity, we will separate solid liquid mixture by evaporation. So we will use heat and evaporate water to separate water, liquid, from solid substance like salt. So we will need tools like salt, water, a funnel, a flame, 2 beakers, and a stand. Step, we will boil the salty solution means salt in water, salty solution gently. هنغلي المية اللي فيها salt اسمها محلول ملحي أو salty solution، نغليها. إيه اللي هيحصل بعد كده؟ مين يعرف؟ درجة الحرارة هتزيد. The matter will change from liquid state to gaseous state, which is called evaporation process. So evaporation used to separate salt from water. Observation. We will notice that the water evaporates and the salt remains in the beaker. Inference, we can conclude that evaporation process is used to separate solid materials that are soluble in water, such as salt. So if we have salt and water, we can use evaporation process to separate them. So if we have mixture of three things like sand, salt, and water, and we want to separate each of them, separate sand from water, and separate the solution, which is salty solution, separate the salt inside it from water. How we can do it? So we will use filtration, then evaporation. So to make sure we understand this, let's do it in another way. So first, let's make mixture from sand, salt, and water. Then we will separate this mixture. So if we have here a plate containing salt, another plate containing sand, and we have beaker containing water. How we can make mixture out of those three things? Water, this is pure. So we will add salt and sand to water, and we will use stirring or shaking to produce a mixture. So that will produce a mixture. Mixture of what? Who know? Mixture of sand and salty solution. Salty solution means salt in water. That because water, salt dissolve in water. السالت أو الملح بيدوب في المية, while sand insoluble in water. So this beaker will contain water plus sand plus salt. Those are more than one or only one? More than one. So they are mixture, and this is liquid, and those are solids. And those are solids. So what is the type of this mixture? Who can tell me? What is the type of this mixture? Okay, it is solid, right? Solid, liquid mixture. Solid, liquid mixture. So can we separate this mixture? We have water, sand, and salt. Can we separate them into pure water and sand and pure salt? Again, can we do it? Of course we can do it. But how? We have two processes. We have evaporation and filtration. So let's start with filtration. So if we have the beaker again here, and this beaker containing salty water. So when we do filtration for this one, we will use another beaker and a funnel. This funnel containing filter paper. The pure water will be here. This is pure water. Pure water will be here, just water. And here will be sand. But we said that water containing salt, it will be pure water or water and salt. Who knows? Salt dissolve in water, so it can pass through the paper. So it will be not just water, water and salt. Water plus salt. But now we separated sand. Sand is alone now. So this is two types, water and salt. So it is a mixture, solid, liquid mixture. Can we separate this? Of course we can do it. So if we have here the beaker containing salt and water. So can we separate salt from water using what? Using evaporation process. So we will need a flame. And we put this beaker on the flame. After a while, the water will boil. It change from liquid state into gaseous state, and water vapor will come out of the beaker. So if we have another thing, a plate or a screen, cold screen, and this will receive or will change water from water vapor into liquid water, So it will be water, and this will be only salt. So we mixed salt, sand, and water together, forming solution or forming salty solution and sand, which called mixture, which is called solid liquid mixture. And we can separate this mixture using what? Using first filtration to separate sand from this solution. After this, we have salty solution, salt plus water, and we used the flame or heat energy to separate salt from this water and receive pure water or distilled water in this case and salt. So now we separate them into salt, water, and sand again. So let's continue our lesson. So let's continue and know how can we separate another type of mixture. So the next activity, we will separate liquid-liquid mixture by separating funnel. This tool called separating funnel, and we use separating funnel to separate liquid-liquid mixture. But this liquid are special. They are not mixed together like oil and water as we said before. So tools needed: a separating funnel, water, oil, and beaker. So what we will do, we will pour a mixture of water, oil in separating funnel. We have to notice here, oil do not mix with water. That's why oil will float on water. Observation, we will notice what? The water falls down from the separating funnel and can received in a beaker, but oil remains inside the separating funnel. In the separating funnel, there are a tape, and when we open the tape, we will let water fall from the separating funnel and we receive it in the beaker. It is just water, no oil. After that, the oil will still inside the funnel. هيبقى موجود جوه الفانل، مش وانا واقفل لغايه لما خلاص كل الووتر عدى اروح قافل كويس، هيتبقى مفيش غير عندي ايه؟ اويل في الفانل والبيكر containing water. This is the activity. So water and oil do not mix together, and we can separate them using a separating funnel. So the separating funnel is used to separate what? To separate immiscible liquids. Immiscible liquids mean liquids do not mix together. سوائل هم liquid يعني سائل وسائل. السائل الأولاني اللي كان الووتر، السائل الثاني كان الأويل، and they are immiscible. immiscible يعني لا يمتزجوا ببعض الووتر. وممكن نجرب ده في البيت، نجيب ووتر ونجيب أويل ونشوف هل هم بيمتزجوا ببعض، هل هم بيبقوا داخلين جوه بعض ما نعرفش نفرقهم، ولا ان هنلاقي ان الاويل float on the surface of water يعني بيطفو فوق سطح الايه؟ الميه. علشان كده بنسميهم immiscible liquids. immiscible liquids whose components do not mix together like water and oil. So to make sure we understand this part very clearly, let's answer some questions. So let's answer some questions on this lesson. Questions on lesson 1. Choose the correct answer. To separate insoluble matter from water, we use what? We use, of course, filtration process because it is insoluble in water like sand and water. Question number 2. To separate iron filings from sand, we must use what? We have iron and we have sand, so we use a magnet. Okay. Number 3, table salt. It is soluble in water, is collected by evaporation. By evaporation of what? Evaporation of seawater. That's how we obtain salt or table salt from seawater. Number 4, the mixture of sand and salt can be separated by, we have sand and salt. Sand insoluble in water. So we will use, we have sand, we have salt and water. So we have to dissolve this sand and the salt in water. So salt will dissolve in water. After that we make filtration process to obtain the sand. After that evaporation process to obtain salt from water. So we'll use dissolving, after that filtration and evaporation process. Number 5, oil-water mixture can be separated by using what? Of course, separating funnel. Number 6, to separate salt from salty water, salty solution or salty water, water containing salt, we will use evaporation process. So let's review our lesson. So in part 2 of lesson 1, we talk about separation of mixture, and we have many methods to separate mixture according to the nature of this mixture. And we used first one, magnetic attraction, to separate iron from sand. After that, we used filtration to separate sand from water because sand insoluble in water. After that, we used evaporation process, and evaporation process used to separate sand, separate salt from water. And the last one, separating funnel, to separate oil from water. So that's it for this video, and thank you for watching.